moly! Thing pulled hard.
What's up, Vintage Moto Fiends, and welcome to episode 13 of A Bike and a Beer, the show where every Saturday I feature a sweet-ass vintage motorcycle with an appropriately paired beer. If you've been joining us every week, thank you so much. If you haven't, this is your first episode and you like what I'm doing here, feel free to subscribe in that lower corner there. Much appreciated. It's been 11 weeks since we had a two-stroke on the show, which seems unfathomable, but the dry spell is over. We've got a caster drinking, smoke throwing, badass beast of a two-stroke right here. This, my friends, is a 1969 400 Cross by Husqvarna. Actually, I believe it's pronounced Husqvarna. And these were only made for 3 years, from 1969 to 1971, making this a beautiful example of a first-year model. Now, this is a Swedish machine here. So I found this beer by Two Pitchers Brewing. It's called Nordic Jam. And Sweden is part of the Nordic countries. So this is a lager made with Nordic fruits. They made it with cherries, elderberries, and strawberries. It must be healthy. These two guys apparently were pretty crappy pitchers in college, and they decided they were better at brewing than playing baseball. So they started this company. Let's see what it tastes like. I have no idea what this is going to taste like. It's supposed to be easy to drink. Oh yeah. Ooh, that's dangerous. Real easy to drink. Pretty much anyone who threw a leg over these bikes in the late 60s fell in love. Ben Aberg, whose name graces the side of this air filter cover, won the 500cc World Motocross Championship in 69 and 70 on this bike. Steve McQueen, Malcolm Smith, J.N. Roberts, Whitey Martino, all those guys raced, rode, and loved the Husqvarna 400 Cross. Husqvarna, again properly pronounced Husqvarna, is probably going to take the cake for the oldest manufacturer that we're going to talk about on this show. They were founded in 1689 making muskets. Now, of course, they weren't putting out motorcycles at that time. We were riding around in horse and buggies. But the company was founded then near the town of Husqvarna, Sweden. It wouldn't be till 1903 that they rolled their first motorcycle out of the workshop. And then it would still be over 60 years until we got the first production Husqvarnas in the U.S. In 1966, Edison Dye, an entrepreneur and visionary for the motorcycle world, convinced Husqvarna to sell him 50 bikes for export to the U.S. He did really well with them. He tracked down Malcolm Smith in Southern California, who was winning just about everything. And although Malcolm was quite content on his Greaves, Edison was able to convince him to test ride a Husqvarna. Malcolm basically said, if it ain't good, I'm not riding it. And of course he rode it, thought it was absolutely amazing, and told Edison he had a new rider. You know, the rest is history. He went on to win the Baja 1000. He sold probably more Husqvarnas than anyone else during that time, and that began the Malcolm Smith Motorsports dealership, which is still going strong today. Steve McQueen also got into Husqvarnas in the late 60s. He saw Ben Abbott race it, and after the race, he bought it from him. And that was a 1968 360, I believe. And he fell in love with them and kind of put away his beloved Triumphs forever. Now, of course, the final scene of the 1971 Bruce Brown film On Any Sunday is pretty much burned into all of our minds. Malcolm Smith, Steve McQueen, and Mert Lawwell are all riding around the Baja Dunes. Malcolm and Steve are on Husqvarna 400 Crosses. I think Mert's on a Greaves that actually has a Harley sticker on the tank. Got to keep your sponsors happy, you know. It's such an iconic film, and that's what I think about when I see a 400 Cross. Okay, let's take a closer look at this specific bike. I always like to start at the front. 21-inch front, Akron aluminum shouldered rims. The staple of the day. Still a great wheel setup, to be honest with you. Husqvarna hubs. Drum front, obviously. Husqvarna shocks. Alloy front fender with this tubular fender brace. They were tubular in 69 and 70. For 71, they actually got a stamped brace up here. Flat top tank. This is the correct tank for 69, the first year. These number plates, there's an important detail on here that you can easily spot if it's correct or wrong. And it needs a thick band around the end here, a thick border. If it's too thin, it's not right. You want that thick band. And also, what's kind of cool, there's a reason these plates are yellow. These bikes, they're race bikes. They were made to race motocross. And the yellow plates designated the open class for FIM. So you could literally buy this bike, slap your numbers on it, and be ready to race the open class for FIM. Pretty cool. Of course, the iconic Husqvarna font with 400 cross. These chrome sides here, they were smart. They saw that everyone's knees, especially wearing leather pants, would basically rub the paint off right here. So instead of doing paint right here, they did chrome. And here we have it. 400cc two-stroke. Good way to tell it is if you can fit your thumb through here, it's a 400. If you can, it's a 360. Black motor, just raw two-stroke power. This has the original FEMSA coil here too for the ignition. Airbox cover. I actually think that the 69 models did not have the Ben Aberg sticker on it. So this would be seen on 70 and 71s, but still cool. Foot peg here. Somebody along the way has put a little nut and bolt through it for a little extra traction. 4-speed gearbox on these. This would be the end of the 4-speed gearbox after the 71 models were put away. Silver frame. These are one-piece welded frames, and that was different. They did that in 68 on the 360, but before that, the subframes actually bolted to the frames. Those bikes are called bolt-together Husqvarnas. Girling shocks here with the chrome cover. That's period correct and perfect for a 69. Another Acron aluminum shouldered rim in the rear. These are 18s. Now, I don't know if these had Trelleborgs in 69 or not. It's currently sporting Metzlers, which I've heard pretty much everyone did anyway as soon as they got the bike. Rear fender on this bike is currently aluminum, but it actually would have come with a steel fender painted silver. Trapdoor Magura throttle up here. Very nice feeling Magura levers. Probably stock bars here too. Unique seat. This one's in fantastic condition. Floating rear brake here, and that just means that the brake stay, instead of going to the swing arm, goes all the way to the frame. This exhaust is really unmistakable for Husqvarna. The 400s have a much larger diameter header right here. This one's been fitted with a Skyway spark arrestor to keep the sparks and the noise down. These have side float beams, and they only had them for 69. In 70 and 71, thereafter for Husqvarna, they all had concentric beams. So, really cool, unique piece for 69 on here. Let's give it a tickle. Fire this bad boy up. I bet it goes first kick. Okay, maybe second. Okay, maybe third. If only you could smell that. Oh, there's also a compression release added to these. Helps clear it out if it gets a little gummed up there in the bottom end. So with all that said, folks, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of A Bike and a Beer. Thank you so much for joining me. It's truly a pleasure to share these bikes with you every week, and I appreciate you subscribing and watching the videos. We'll be back next week with a whole nother beer and a whole nother bike. Thank you so much. See you then. Cheers.